Welcome everyone. This is the fourth Global Empowerment Summit. The ladies are getting ready for this session. I will bring up those who are already ready and they will straight away start the conversation about well-being and life and work, integration, balance, and everything that comes with it. We have Anjali, Betty, Hetal, and Harry, and I'm really looking forward to this conversation with them. We'll slowly bring them up and let's see whether the technology will support us today. We will see who is ready. Let's go. I will bring up Anjali first. Hi, Anjali. How are
Hi.
you today?
Good morning. I'm good.
It's nice to see you here.
Thank
I
you.
will bring Betty up. Hi, Betty. How are you today?
Hi, everyone, Andrea, and I am great. Good
Thank
to
you.
see
So,
all
thank
of
you.
us on screen.
Yeah, exactly. And thank you for the viewers for tuning in. I'm bringing up Hetal. Hi, Hetal. How are you today?
I'm really good, thank you. Thank you so much for having
Hi.
me.
Thank you for joining in. And then, last but not least, we have Harry here. Let's see whether her technology is ready. Hi, Harry. How are you today? Okay, I think she's not ready yet. We'll let her just tune in until she's getting ready. I will just bring her backstage and I will ask Anjali to start the conversation and let's see how we can make that happen. So today's topic is about well-being and it's about work-life balance. And I'm really looking forward for this conversation. It will be a longer conversation and the ladies will be sharing their perspective on well-being and work-life integration. So I will be going backstage. See you ladies soon and have a beautiful
You.
conversation.
See you.
Yeah. Okay. Um, a very good morning and welcome to the Global Empowerment Summit 2023. And thank you for joining this Global Empowerment Summit panel session on well-being, work-life integration in a diverse workforce. Let me start off by introducing myself as a moderator for this session, and then I will ask each of you panelists to introduce yourselves as well. I'm Dr. Anjali Doshi. Prior to my retirement a few years ago, I was the Deputy Director General of the National Population and Family Development Board, Malaysia, which is under the Ministry of Women, Family and Community Development. My areas of expertise include population, family development, strengthening marriages, parenting, family well-being, mental health, and work-life integration. Over the years, I've been involved in training, research, policy development, as well as the development of programs in these areas. I've also played a key role in the development of the Malaysian Family Wellbeing Index. Uh, Henceforth, shall I, to start the ball rolling, I will ask Betty to quickly introduce herself. Betty Pua, please.
Thank you so much, Dr. Anjali. I am Betty Phua. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I had worked in an international leading insurer for 4 decades, leading various departments, 8 departments in total, and I had retired for 5 years now, since 2018, from my last position as a senior manager for operations. I'm now actively involved in my family business in domestic and commercial cleaning. I'm also active in a non-profit organization serving as an EXCO member in Malaysian Association of Professional Secretaries and Administrators, MAPSA in short. And I'm active in Toastmaster fraternity, serving currently as one of the area directors in Division P in District 51. I have the passion in developing human capital through training, communication, leadership, and community building. And am also passionate in continuous learning myself. I strongly believe that no one is unteachable, and I hone onto the 4 P's for success, which is persistence, perseverance, passion, and perfection. Over to you, Dr. Anjali.
Thank you very much, Betty. Uh, Harry, are you on? Okay, maybe I move on to Hetal first. Hetal, can you quickly introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, my
Hey,
name is
hi.
Hital Doshi, and I am an
Hi.
organizational psychologist. I hope you're able to hear me.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I'm Hetal Doshi. I'm an organizational psychologist. I think I have the best job in the world. It's really, really fun. We get to look at performance all day, every day, and we get to ask people how they feel about having to perform and whether work is worth it for them. Ultimately, our job is to make sure that work is always worth it for everybody in an organization. We've been in practice for over 20 years, and now we're leading something called the National Wellbeing Project across Malaysia first and beyond, in cooperation with Ministry of Health, but also with the collaboration of the likes of Sunway University and associations like Oil and Gas Council of Malaysia, which is also known as MOXIE, and many other potential collaborators that are upcoming as well. So looking forward to have this very meaningful conversation about work-life, well-being, and everything in between.
Thank you, Heta. Harry, over to you.
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Harry Dahan. I am a UK trained psychiatric nurse and I am a trainer provider in workplace mental health. I'm very much interested in workplace mental health, and I'm a certified trainer. I go to companies and help them improve their employees' mental health.
Okay, thank you very much, Harry. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, to start off our discussion today, we see well-being and work-life integration is a significant issue today,
That's it.
especially
Thank you.
especially considering work, family, personal, and environmental factors which are interconnected and impact each other. Some key issues would include like long working hours, stressful lifestyles, impact of technology, different family structures such as commuter families, single parent families, uh, and dual career families as well. So we are all looking for solutions that can make our lives more organized, integrated, less stressful, and definitely happier. Hence, one of the key objectives of today's panel discussion is to identify some key challenges and issues that impact work life integration and well being, and to suggest interventions and tips on how to deal and cope with these challenges. The role of the employers, family, and individuals is critical to the success of work life integration and well being. And today we have expert panelists who have varied backgrounds, as you just heard today, who will be able to share with us their experiences and expertise and suggest interventions and how we can cope with these challenges that we all face today. To kickstart the conversation this morning, let's maybe perhaps share briefly our views on the concept of well-being and its importance. You see, because well-being means different things to different people, and I think basically, generally, it refers to quality of life, maybe life satisfaction or happiness, and sometimes these terms are used interchangeably. So, what is and it's what is relatively intrinsically relative and important to some individual may be different for another person. So and these indicate well-being indicators indicate people's general satisfaction with life in relation to their job, their family, their personal well-being, etc. So perhaps we can just briefly say what we understand by the concept of well-being itself. Anybody would like to start off the discussion? No, Heather, Derry, whoever.
Sure.
Yeah,
I,
please. Yeah.
I love the fact that you said that we all have different definitions of it, and that's why it's almost critical to go back to science and validated operational definitions of the meaning of it. World Health Organization's definition or operational definition of mental health is a complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. I know it sounds a bit too technical, but basically, it's the positive state of the spectrum of health experienced by both individuals and societies. So, in other words, as long as you're feeling really great, in here, and you're able to look at the world in a way that is optimistic, that would be what well-being really stands for.
Thank you, Hetal. Harry or Betty, would you like to add something? If not, yeah.
At the state of being comfortable and healthy and happy, especially between your working life, how you blend well with your family, your working, these are all aspects of the well-being that all of us are looking out for, especially the working mothers. We are talking about the well-being here. Okay.
Thank you, Betty. Harry, would you like to add something, or can I? They have said it all.
Okay.
Harry, no, can't hear you. Yeah.
I'm just offering a different perspective as a nurse who work with people who are mentally ill. For me, it was just waking up, just getting out of bed,
Harry, we
so
have problem with
well-being
your
is
audio.
a very, very personal thing. Mental health for so many people are
The
struggling with
line
it.
is lagging.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Harry. Moving on, actually, based on our understanding of well-being, we can see there are different kinds of well-being. You have physical, mental health, emotional well-being, financial well-being, and all that. And it's actually interrelated with each other. For example, financial well-being can affect our emotional well-being and all that. So we will discuss this further in our discussion today. But we know that everybody today, you have one body with multiple hats. That is, you are a spouse, a parent, a professional, a daughter, sibling, and all that. And there are multiple demands and expectations from these different roles, which can cause a lot of if we are not able to manage it well, it can cause a lot of stress and tension and affect our well-being as well. So, but before I go into this particular aspect, moving on from the well-being, what is our understanding? A quick, anybody wants to come in, a definition of work-life integration. What is our understanding of that? And sometimes in the past, a lot of people talked about uh, work-life balance, but now people are moving towards more work-life integration. So what do you think? Is it the same or is it different? A quick one before we go into the discussion proper.
I would
Uh,
think, can
yes.
I take on,
Yeah, sure,
Angela?
sure.
Yeah,
Yes, please.
I would think work-life integration, it is an integrating one's work and life to complement and support each other. To me, it is a process of allowing the space for both work and your personal life so that you can feel fulfilled in both aspects. With work-life integration, we efficiently coordinate our workday schedule and personal responsibility to ensure the personal and professional productivity and higher satisfaction. This is how I look at it.
Okay. Hetal, your take on that?
I think it's really, really helpful to go back to the definition. I like to think of work-life well-being like makeup on the face. If it doesn't blend, you're going to look like a clown, right? So work-life integration is a space. It's how you use space and blend all of your needs together. And when it's well blended, you shine. And people around you know that you're living in your best element. So I think that's one of the nice ways that I've heard in the past of work-life integration looking like a perfectly nice made up look on your face.
Very much a very interesting analogy, Hetal. Yes, I definitely agree. Work-life balance, sometimes we say you have two different worlds, work and life, and both trying to get an equilibrium. Whereas in work-life integration, we are trying to bring all the various spheres of our life, work, life, family, personal, etc., to coexist in a very dynamic way, with a very positive way. Balance, they say, sometimes is very impossible, difficult to achieve. But depends on each individual and how they want to go about achieving. So work-life balance seeks to achieve and site where your work and life coexist and thrives in terms of balance separately. And work-life integration is basically about bringing work and life closer together, to put it simply, right? Like your perfect makeup. We want to aspire for that as well. So, but going on to that, what else can we can look at that in that sense, and let's go on to the question. I would like to focus this question from the personal, family, and work perspective. But to begin, let's start with the work perspective because it's work-life integration. What role would you think does the workplace play in promoting or hindering employees' work-life integration and well-being in a diverse workforce? Um, because it definitely impacts a person in terms of work, and you cannot isolate your family from your work. So it will, have correlate. The effect will be spilled over into your other realms, your personal life as well as your family and all that. But from the workplace perspective, let's talk about it. Does it play? How important is this role in either promoting or hindering work-life integration and well-being? Anybody?
Employees, they spend a lot of time at work, and their working environment has an impact on their performance. So all the more with the workplace challenges, it would actually negatively impact their well-being. For example, the increased workload, the extremely long working hours, the great pressure from their employers, and also working at peak hours all the time for the same pay. So excessive traveling, and all these are too much time taken away from the family. All these leave the employee physically and emotionally drained. This is how I look at it. Yeah, back to you.
Yeah. Whoa, I'm feeling drained hearing that. Yeah, it is. It is exhausting because work is effort, right? That's why we call it work. So one of the interesting things that we embarked on was triggered by anger. We were very angry at how certain companies had begun to measure well-being, or rather non-well-being, and majority of the companies started measuring it based on depression, anxiety, stress, and suicide. And we thought that was absolutely the wrong way of doing it. And we shouldn't even talk about well being until number one, we understand what it is and we're using the right measurements. So, as we did a pilot study together with academics, we're not saying academics are the best, but they do take a very scientific rigor in being able to understand what is it that we're actually measuring and how we go about measuring it. So, one of the things that we realized is let's go to a family, right? Just a quick question, Anjali and Betty. You love your family, yes, no? Yeah, we love our family.
Okay.
But do they also annoy the living daylights out of you sometimes?
They are around, so I can't say that. But yes,
So
definitely, yeah,
we,
yeah.
we looked at it from a family perspective, a community perspective, a sports perspective, and an organization perspective. Having well-being, loving your job doesn't mean that you're not under risk, right? Even if you really love your job, what are the risks and the issues? And we realized that it's two separate things altogether. I love my mom, but she might annoy me a little bit as well. Or so what we call these two labels is called well-being and psychosocial risk. What are the elements that are pulling you back? What are the elements that are pulling you forward? Energy cannot be destroyed, cannot be created, but it's always transferring. There are things that are pushing you forward, there are things that are pulling you behind. Most people think well-being is a very static experience. It's not. If it was static, we'll be happy permanently. It's like an ocean of emotions, right? So it's constantly moving here, and there are constantly things picking you back. So in our study, we looked at psychosocial risk. What are the things that are pulling us back? And well-being. What are the things that are pulling us forward? The role of an organization is to figure out what are the things that are pulling you back. But in order to move forward, that's your job. So, for example, an organization looks at 20 different factors under the ISO 45003 standard. So, it's actually a technical standard that is looking at the types of psychosocial risk or stress that a company puts people under. These 20 different factors, we've looked at Malaysia, over 7,500 employees, 18 companies so far, and close to 7 industries. These 20 different things that annoy the crap out of us. I just like to ask a pop quiz. What do you think annoys or is impacting and putting employees at most amount of stress? I just like to pop quiz everybody. What do you think is like the biggest pain point for employees?
Bosses.
Bosses. Okay. Interestingly,
Oh,
and interestingly,
I was going to say that.
oh, bosses as well. Okay. Interestingly, and thank God we measure it, because what gets measured, then you can get it done, right? So interestingly, in Malaysia, it is the second lowest risk, your bosses. But I think we are so used to having a common enemy, which is the boss. That's the only one thing you and I can talk about because there's a person. It is one of the least issues in risk factors in Malaysia. The number one risk factor is called tempo and work pace. Means that by the time I go to sleep, exactly like what Betty was saying, I still haven't completed my job and I'm having nightmares about my work. And the second biggest issue is organizational justice. I feel that it's unfair. It's like being a child in having a few children in the family, and you're like, I feel like it's unfair. Other people are getting better gigs than I am, especially because people on social media, they always think other people's lives is much better. So the unfairness, the feeling that things are unfair, is also pulling people backwards. And the third thing is not being able to speak up is also pulling people backwards. These are the top three risks, but bosses are one of the lowest risk factors actually. So if you ask me, the top few things that organizations need to look at is not really well-being. It's about job design. How do you design a job properly so that people are actually done with their work by the time they are done? They have an environment where they can speak up and negotiate for better terms there and then on a daily basis, not a yearly basis.
Harry, you better come
Mm,
down before you have audio issues again. Please, would you like to share anything on I hope you heard the
oh yeah,
question on, yeah.
I didn't hear the. Yeah,
The question is
it's
on
in.
the workplace,
Yes,
promoting or
yes.
hindering employees'
Mm.
well-being and
It's
integration.
interesting. It is very interesting because I use when I teach employers how to take care of their employees' mental health. I use the 10 categories of psychosocial risk offered by the World Health Organization, and they offered 10, and it ranges anything from toxic work culture to unhealthy environments and all sorts of things. Yeah, just a comment. People think the culture here is that people think that mental health is a very personal thing, and it's up to the employee to take care of their own mental health. But I think employers, bosses, and organization, they have a moral obligation to empower people with the skills needed to take care of their own mental health, because if it's not, they're in big trouble, because if your employees are not engaged, then you lose a lot of money like that in the business sense, in the business world. If there's a lot of absenteeism and presenteeism at the moment. Post I have the statistics that date back to 2018, and that's very, very high in terms of employees in Malaysia taking MCs, not fully engaged, and high turnover, that kind of thing. And can you imagine what the figures will be like post COVID, with people resigning and mental health issues is on the rise and whatnot? Yeah, that's my comment
Thank you
thus
so much,
far.
Harry, and all of you. Yeah, I think it's a very interesting perspective, and especially I looked at what Hetal said in terms of risks and risk factors, which is pulling you back and it's actually the risk and protective factors. Everybody will have risk factors, but you have protective factors. Then you'll be able to deal with the challenges as well. Protective factors can be inner resilience or family support or employee support and all that, or policies in place and all that, which are considered as protective factors. So it's not all that bad, but you should be able to harness the resources available in your environment to help you in your journey towards well-being and family life integration, right? Or work-life integration. Yes, thank you so much. Coming back to, let me look at it from the, let's say from the, as we say, family is a very important component which will affect our, as an influence of our work-life integration as well. And could you share some of, let's say, some of the balances? Today, families are facing many, many challenges. In fact, family structure has also changed. We have different family structures, right? Dual career families, more challenges. Commuter families, due to job, you work different place, or you send your kids to be taken care by grandparents. Childcare issues or sandwich generation, looking after your old folks and your children. All these are family challenges that will also impact an individual and also spill over probably into their work life. We can say that you leave your family at home and you go to work, and when you come back from work, you forget about your work, but that is just ideal nirvana. It doesn't happen. So for let me share, could you please share through your experiences as well some of the challenges families face in balancing the demands, or a quick few minutes on that, on personal family parenting role with their career responsibilities, and how does it affect their well-being? Anybody can take it up. Yeah.
I think when I was in England, I did my nurse training, and then immediately I had a job. I did my nurse training when my youngest son was 2 years old, and I'm surrounded by. After that, I had a job immediately, and surrounded by moms, working moms, and we used to talk about feeling guilty, the guilt that we carry as working mothers, whilst we our children are being picked up by childminders, the number of concerts that we miss, the number of sports day that we miss, because we had to go to work, that kind. But I think in the long, but then you make it up, don't you? When you're not working, you're the best mom. You try to compensate to be a good mom, whatever that is. And then throughout the years, I decided that, you know what, I don't do guilt. I do not want to do, I do not do guilt, because guilt is toxic. You carry it, it affects your mental health. And I reframe my experience as, look, I'm going to be the best mom that I can ever be, given the resources that I have, resources in terms of time, energy, money, and I will be the best person. And I think there is no such thing as a perfect mother or a perfect parent. We are human beings. We all have flaws, but we be the best that we can be. There was a question some just now, I think earlier on, about perfection. That's quite worrying. I don't think there's any such thing as perfection. Well, that's me. That's my experience. So now in retrospect, the children, my children are 36 and 31. They are grounded. They have jobs, not fantastic or not overly. They're not the Elon Musk of this world, of the Jeff Bezos, but they are happy human beings. They're productive human beings, and that's enough for me. So that's it. That's my experience that I'm sharing.
Okay, thank you so much. uh, I will just go on next, because yeah. So when we see, so we have work-life challenges as well as family challenges. We haven't come into individual challenges, but in the interest of time, I know we also have many personal challenges which we have to deal with. So, but challenges, for every challenge you face, there is a solution. There is a way you can coping mechanism for that. So let's look at that soon. But I would also like to say, before I go on to that, can you just briefly, any one of you, highlight the importance of organization policies or practices in supporting employees' well-being and work-life integration? If you have done your experience in terms of training them, or any programs, maybe. um,
Yeah, definitely the
a quick,
policy
yeah,
side. I just wanted to just tap into the previous question, right?
yeah,
It's so overwhelming when we talk about all these different challenges and all of that. We liken it to a buffet, you know. You know, when somebody gets greedy and they want to eat everything, huh? They can't. You know, there's two soups or four soups and they need to have all the soups. The salad. So we call this work-life obesity. So these are people who take on so much and then eventually blame everybody else for the fact that there's so much going on. Neither would they be content at life, neither would be, and then they would end up blaming both the family, the work, whatever not. It's just workplace. To me, it would be called work-life obesity. There's just too much going on. And in order to get fit, doctors will tell you the first thing you need to do is you need to cut down your food intake. You need to cut down the things that are unhealthy for you. And normally it stems from just unhealthy thoughts and behaviors that leads to work-life obesity rather than work-life fitness, right? And with that, when it comes to policy, the first thing is to figure out who is responsible for what. Will you leave your money? Like, people think well-being is the job. Yes, the moral obligation of organizations to make sure that I do not cause you mental illness. Mental health, however, is like your financial health and your spiritual health. Would you leave your wallet in your boss's hands? Would you leave your heart in your boss's hands? You wouldn't. So mental health is something, in terms of a policy, we be very clear what is the responsibility of the organization, which is to reduce and mitigate psychosocial risk. It is to increase environmental conditions so that people feel safe enough, brave enough to speak up. But your mental health is like your financial health. You're not going to give your bank account details to your boss. So don't leave your brains in your hand. So from a policy level, the first thing is to be very clear about who is, responsible for what. And for organizations that started looking at happiness of employees, they've ended up in a very dark black hole because they can't help. You can't even make your husband or your mom happy. What makes you think you can make 47,000, 57,000 people happy? Practices, very simply, we use something called ABCDF. First, what are you assessing? B, how are you benchmarking? C, how are you co-creating with experts? D, have you developed a framework? E, have you evaluated the impact? And fly, are you flying like a butterfly to the next best evolution of your company?
Thank you so much, Hetal. I think a very interesting analogy. We should all look at it again. Can perhaps have another session to just discuss your ABCDEF or what. you know okay, going on. Yes, so I liked the way you all looked at it just now, but just one more question. For example, in terms of how can organizations create a culture that values diversity? Now we have baby boomers, we have the Gen XYZ, millennials, etc. All have different attitudes of working, different values, different perceptions of each other and all that. So in an organization with diversity, diverse employees, how can an organization foster a culture of promoting open discussions between these groups, accepting each other and understanding and working together? Anybody has something to say on that? Derry, Betty?
Yeah. On that aspect, I would think that by implementing the strategies such as prioritizing communication, flexibility, promoting time management, and fostering a positive organization culture, encouraging breaks, and also vacation. And this will provide the growth opportunity, and the organization can actually cultivate an environment that value and support the employees. And this, to me, from my working experience, it is not just the bosses or the company, but the departmental manager is very important, because if you are having your subordinate, it is you, how you want to mold your staff and how you want to give them the work-life balance, the well-being. Just now, when Heather was saying, it is not the bosses. To me, after working for more than 4 decades, I would feel that the bosses, to me, maybe I was fortunate. I've been able to work along very well with all my bosses. Okay, I have 13 CEOs I work with, and they were fine with me. So I have no complaint about my bosses. Until today, even though I retired, I'm having very close rapport with them. But it is the, like you say, the anger created or the jealousy created by the departmental head. That is very important, because when we talk about the improve the employee engagement, and this is something that the manager, the leader, because as a leader, you have got to make sure that there is the well-being of the employee being looked into. So this will encourage the very positive way of them carrying out, and it will actually boost their productivity and performance. This is how I
Thank you.
look at it. Right.
Thank you, Betty. Derry or Harry or Heather, or shall I? she answered. Yeah, if you have
Well, you know,
a quick one, yeah.
I have never met a company. I have never met an organization, but I have met managers. I have met CEOs. They are human beings. They are people. So if you say, you know, there is, you know, not undesirable job design, if you say not being able to speak up, there's no psychological safety. So maybe it's the people, the managers, again, you know, what sort of training do they have? Maybe you want the manager might want to question his style of management that may enable people to speak up to him and take feedback in a loop, you know, ask for feedback, process it, and then it's a kind of loop. So yeah, so again, that's my take on workplace mental health. It it uh, it it is about training, really. It's about raising awareness and supplying the resources that you have to employees. Sorry, go
Thank
ahead.
you.
That's me
Yeah.
rambling on. You had
No,
to
it's okay,
interrupt me,
Harry.
otherwise I'll
I
go on
okay.
and on and on.
I will just answer one question from Jay. Do you believe it's more challenging to compartmentalize your work and life and working from home? Actually, we always think it's easy to do that, but COVID has proved us wrong. When everybody was at home doing the work, there's more work-life integration. But it was more burdensome on women. They couldn't compartmentalize. It became integrated. Sometimes the family responsibilities were even more than the work responsibilities because family, before you finish breakfast, they're already talking about mid-morning break, what do you want to cook, and then lunch. And women were pressured tremendously. And there were a lot of family issues that came up, husband-wife issues. You are not used to seeing each other 24/7. You have work, you have other diversions. We are under one roof for 3 months. You can just imagine it can be traumatic sometimes, right?
Yes.
Especially if the burden falls on the woman. And when you ask them who would love to come back to work after COVID, the first ones to put up their hand were women. They couldn't take it anymore. A double burden for them. But that's just a very short answer. Can go again. We can go into a long discussion on that. But I would say, what is the role of when you just move on quickly in the interest of time? One quick one. What's the role of work employers in ensuring or assisting in terms of policies for their employees' work-life integration, at least to assist them or facilitate in their process of work life? Is there any policies that, for example, parenting leave or a childcare support or childcare services or anything unique that you have come across in your experience which we can share besides the normal, maternity leave, parental leave, financial assistance or child support services? We will just quick one because of interest of time as well. Yeah. Any of you
Can
would
I
like to
contribute?
respond?
Can I
Yeah.
contribute to this? Both my sons are now living in England, so that's my parenting. They are 36 and 31. They are men. So I said, bye bye, off you go, learn life, live life. So one of the boys, he said, "Mommy, today I'm having a duvet day." I said, "What? What is a duvet day?" He said, "It's one day in the month where you can have a duvet day, where you can tell your boss, I'm not coming into work, and no questions asked. Just one day, and it's called a duvet day." So yeah, that's
Very
interesting, isn't
interesting.
it? So in Malaysia, maybe we can have a selimut day. Selimut blanket. So I think that's quite interesting. His company allows one duvet day. I suppose it's like a mental health day. It's not a sick leave. It's not an MC, but it's called a duvet day. So there you go. That could be a policy.
Okay, thank you so much. Hetal, a quick one. If you have
One of
anything to
the
say,
Yeah, one of the interesting things that have come is that we often think that there's one company and therefore one dream or one policy. So companies tend to and should probably make policies slightly loose because it's not one team, not one company, one dream. It's many teams with many different dreams. So there's a couple of organizations that we work with where as they have very healthy psychological safety practices, meaning people start talking about it within their teams, a lot of interesting practices emerge. Like, for example, one of these teams, they are Salesforce and they do international sales, but they also have a lot of women over there because it's a bit more of a, you can't even say female industry, but a lot more female participation in that sales force. And so suddenly there was post pandemic, a lot of them had babies. And once the doors opened up, they started having to travel a lot more. But they wanted to also make sure that the milk was being sent back to their kids. Otherwise, it wouldn't be worth it for them to continue working in their company if they couldn't breastfeed their kids. And so it became a practice within the organization that they would offer them X amount of money or certain amount of benefits to transport their milk um, by flight back to their kids so that the organization could move forward. So coming back to psychosocial risk, I think having a permanent policy is like having a law that sometimes from 1992, the amendment cannot be changed. But practices are the way to go, and conversations rather than feedback allow a movement to take place that makes you extremely unique compared to any other organization. And I think that's something really, really exciting to be thinking and talking about. Like, forget about organizational policy. These are some really cool stuff that we're doing as naturally grown, organically engaged practices that we have full empowerment to do going forward.
Thank you so much, Hetal. Very interesting perspective to actually motivate more women to breastfeed. Okay, besides work life and organizational initiatives and all that, uh, in your opinion, I would say strong family relationships also contribute to better work life integration and well being for individuals, right? And are there any strong any initiatives or measures or coping mechanisms families can initiate to sort of do their part, like you say, whose responsibility is employers to a certain extent, but individuals and families also have to pick up the role. You cannot just push the buck to the employers and say they are responsible for ensuring that we achieve work life integration. So in terms of the family, I would say, what are some of the interventions or steps families can take to make sure they are able to better integrate their work and life and family as well in their roles and responsibilities? You know, you can't have your cake and eat it, to put it very simply. And there has to be boundaries, there have to be expectations in terms of work. You cannot just say my family is important, I'm going to do this for my family. Then it will affect your career development, your financial salary, etc. So is there any steps that families can take to sort of help them to have better work, life, family integration? Anybody? Yeah,
I,
1 minute.
I would think family members offer a very safe and non-judgmental space to share your thoughts, the concern, and the joys. And this emotional connection, it helps reduce stress. And then it also improves the mood and foster the sense of belonging. The love and understanding from family members can significantly boost the overall well-being of the employee. And these are all very healthy environment, especially so with all the support from your family members. That is the thing. Yeah.
I think what's interesting, right, in terms of the family structure nowadays, or rather not interesting, it's very scary actually. We've got close to 50% divorce rates that are going on right now. So this is not a matter of like what can family do. This is families are in crisis, and really it's not really mental health or family work whatever. We are in a space of relationship crisis. It's very very difficult for people to figure out what is the best way forward to be in a good relationship with themselves, with the people around them, with the organizations and society at large. Now, 50% divorce rates, that means, and it's not, I'm neither for or against, yeah? I'm neither for or against. But there is a fracture when relationships are torn apart in the way that it originally intended to. So I myself come from a background where I have come from a family full of marriage, and I myself have gotten divorced. And I'm not saying it's right, wrong, indifferent, but it definitely creates an impact. As you experience these kind of things in life, you wonder whether you can begin to continue to have very trusting relationships as you used to before an experience like that ever happened. This could also take place in another life event called outplacement, when companies decide they no longer want you and they hand you out that letter. It is a fracture in an experience of a romanticized idea of how relationships can be. And then you begin to approach all other relationships in that color or that lens from that particular event or life event that you've gone through. I think healing and therapy, or every home needs to have a healer and a therapist that is certified, the way that you have somebody who is a first aider, a physical first aider. Like if somebody gets a heart attack, every family should have somebody who's able to support a person who may have a heart attack in that particular moment. Similarly, any form of potential relational crisis, and I think it's called psychological first aid or beyond. Yeah, a lot of healing so that we can strengthen ourselves going forward. One of the many things, actually.
Thank you, Hater. Okay, I think I see Andrea appearing, so that means it's almost time for us to wrap up. Maybe I'll just give you 30 seconds each, maybe 20 seconds. A key takeaway message, Liz, because families are very important. Their strong support system, give us emotional safety, communication, and strength to share our challenges as well. A very quick 20 seconds, if you have any some takeaway message, please. Starting with Betty. Betty, just one. Can't hear you quick.
Accidentally, yeah. Can you hear me now? Where, when people feel supported in achieving work-life integration, they are likely to be productive and very creative in their professional roles. Having the freedom to pursue personal interests and take care of family responsibility can lead to increased motivation and a high level of engagement in the workplace. This throughout, I really feel that this is so important to me, and I need to see that you get the support in
Oh,
achieving work-life integration.
thank you. Harry, quick one, please.
Yeah, yeah,
Very
yeah. Not all of us are lucky to have a mom to take care of our kids, or to have a very supportive husband who do the shopping and cook the meal. So if you don't have family support, like I did, I worked in England all my life, and my husband at that time worked abroad. So I practically was a single mother. If you don't have that, be very boundary. Have boundaries, clear boundaries. When it's 6 o'clock, you switch off your laptop, you get in your car, and you go home.
okay. Thanks, Harry.
End of.
Hetal, very quick one, please. If you have anything to say, yeah. Before I
Make
sum
your
up.
life make your life worth it. And if it's
Okay.
not, just take control of it.
Thank you so much. Okay, just to sum up a quick one, I think it's been a very interesting discussion, and we have got very valuable insights and skills and tips on how to address this work-life integration and contribute to our well-being, and for fostering harmonious or happy work-life integration in a diverse workforce. Work-life integration isn't something you will achieve overnight or with a single change. It takes time, trial and error, experimenting with what works best. What works for me may not work for you. So that's the other thing. But with a lot of things, we need the support of the environment and the system as well. Let me end by just saying that it's not a poem by Linda Ellis who says, "How do you want to live your dash? The time you're born till the time you die. The time in between is up to you, how you want to live it." And read that poem. It really gives us a lot of strength and ideas on priorities. So with that, life, we say, it's a buffet spread. We can't eat everything. We'll have diarrhea and stomach ache and all that. Prioritize what is important to us. Choose. We can't have everything all the time, right? I know we tend to be greedy when we see buffets, but through experience, learn slowly. So work-life integration and well-being, our goal is to move from surviving and managing to thriving. Thank you very much, panelists, for a very interesting session. I enjoyed it. I hope you and our participants as well had a good time listening. Thank you very much for your questions and feedback. With that, I hand over to Andrea, please.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for the perspectives. I really enjoyed it too from the
Thank you.
backstage. And thank you, ladies, for joining and sharing your beautiful insights. I think that's what we meant to do all the 3 days long, to share these different insights and very honestly, openly putting it out there, let it be about how women can tackle working from home, how can they manage to feed their babies, how can they manage to balance the relationships, and how can we make relationship work. So thank you so much. So many interesting things popped up. Please go back to the YouTube channel and answer. There are a few more questions after your session is ending. I'm playing a music and a video. And thank you so much for your addition to the GES 2023.
Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank,
Bye.
thank you
See
so
you.
much.
Bye.
Thank
Enjoyed
you
the
so
session.
much,
Yeah.
ladies.
Bye.
Be brave and take the lead. Get in the driver's seat. Lead the